Hello, this is Dan. Let's talk about Moderna and BioNTech. Today I'm very upbeat about both companies. I'd like to confirm my previous price target for Moderna for $150 to $170. For BioNTech, actually, I'd like to increase my target by $10. So my new target will be $120 to $140, both of them by the end of March 2021. And of course, the prices are subject to short-term technical fluctuations. Let me tell you what's been happening and why I'm so optimistic about both companies. There are a few very important news items that popped up in the last few days. First of all, the Time of Israel, a local newspaper in Israel, said on January 12th that the initial Israeli data indicated the first Pfizer shot curbs infection by 50% after 14 days. That's right in line with the phase 3 data published by Pfizer and BioNTech. That's a very good sign. At this point, Israel has about 24% of its citizens injected with the Pfizer vaccines. Also, to echo this, as of this morning, Dow Jones Newswire indicated that the early data suggested the COVID-19 infection rates began to decrease in Israel. And it says at the end, the last paragraph in that Dow Jones article said that among those who are critically ill, only 17 of them have already received their first doses of the Pfizer vaccine, with 17% that indicate an effective rate of even higher than 50%. Of course, when the people receive their second shot, then the effective rate will go up to about 95% as predicted by the phase 3 trial data. Another piece of news which is negative at this point for BioNTech, but I really don't worry much about it. Today, 6 EU countries and also, I believe, certain parts of the US have been affected by the delayed delivery of the BioNTech Pfizer vaccines because they have manufacturing issues in Europe. Why am I not worried about that? That's because typically to set up a large pharmaceutical factory, from what I Googled this morning, it will take about $200 million to up to $1 billion. But looking at the revenues that they would generate with the COVID vaccine, they can just spend what the money they need in terms of hundreds of millions of dollars and just build up the capacity quickly. I'm pretty sure that Pfizer and BioNTech will overcome the production issues fairly quickly. I actually took the opportunity to increase my position in BioNTech. I'll talk more about that later on. In the meanwhile, the Forbes magazine says that the Moderna CEO mentioned the COVID-19 vaccine will most likely provide 1 year of immunity or more. That's good news for mankind. And on the other hand, it might reduce the potential revenue for Moderna. But based on my fundamental analysis, I assume people will get a renewal or new injection once every year. So that's still pretty much in line with my projection. Other significant events that might affect the stock prices. On January 13, the New England Journal of Medicine said that the Johnson & Johnson one-dose vaccine appeared to be effective. The J&J vaccine is expected to be approved by the FDA probably in late February or early March. On January 13, the analysts just made a significant upgrade to the BioNTech forecast. On January 11th, EU received the application of AstraZeneca and is likely to approve their vaccine by January 29th. More significant events. On January 11th, the Moderna vaccine got authorization by the Switzerland government, which also ordered 3 million additional doses. January 11th, the BioNTech CEO said that COVID-19 will likely become an endemic disease. That means it'll be a disease that's regularly found among people, just like the flu. That's bad news for mankind, but good news for BioNTech and Moderna. That means people will most likely be needing the annual injections of the vaccine. So far, there's no indication that Moderna and BioNTech vaccines are not effective against the UK and South Africa mutations, which is good news. In the meanwhile, the European Union is in the process of negotiating with Moderna to buy more vaccines. With the delay in production for the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, I think that will give Moderna more of an advantage to getting this contract signed with the EU. In the meanwhile, there was a health conference hosted by JP Morgan back on January 11 of 2021. The CEOs of both Moderna and BioNTech presented in that conference and shared a lot of very important information. In that conference, Moderna presented a PowerPoint deck. This is one of the pages from the deck. It said that in addition to the COVID vaccine, they are working on a vaccine to prevent the CMV disease. And they plan to enter into phase 3 trial starting in 2021. What is CMV? CMV is an acronym for cytomegalovirus. It's a common pathogen, and it actually affects approximately 25,000 newborn babies in the US and could cause very severe birth defects. And there's currently no approved vaccine for preventing the CMV infection. Moderna projected that the potential revenue from this vaccine will be at about $2 to $5 billion a year. That means Moderna indeed has a very rich development pipeline. Here's another page from that presentation deck showing the different products in Moderna's pipeline, which is pretty much the same as the slides I showed in my earlier videos on Moderna. In the same conference, BioNTech also presented. On this one page, they show that they are doing work on a vaccine to treat multiple sclerosis. In that health conference, the CEO of BioNTech also mentioned that they're aiming for 2 billion doses of production capacity in 2021, which is almost double my original projection for their sales in 2021. And so far, they already have firm contracts for more than 1 billion doses. Let's look at what's happening in the United Kingdom. As you probably know, they already have about 5% of the population vaccinated, primarily with the BioNTech vaccine. If you look at the chart, you can see that their new cases have been going down in the last 3-4 days, which is a good sign. As for Israel, which already has 24% of its population vaccinated, and also primarily with the BioNTech vaccine at this point, their case counts are still going up. However, based on the report from the newspaper from Israel, that they are saying that they found the vaccine to be 50% effective. That means whoever got infected recently are mostly people who have not been vaccinated. And I'm not sure why the case has been going so high. Maybe they're not practicing enough safe distancing or not wearing masks or whatever the case may be. But the bottom line is that they found the vaccine to be about 50% effective. Let's hope that the daily case count will go down pretty soon also in Israel. Let's look at technicals. Up until about a week ago, I was talking about this downward trending channel. And at that point, even though I have been holding stocks from both Moderna and BioNTech, I did not say I was bullish about the stocks. I said I held the stock for long term. And at that point, the trend, I mentioned that it was very bearish and we needed to wait for this trend to start turning around. And sure enough, it turned around and started to follow this channel now going upward. Based on the good news we've been hearing lately, I would say the stock price for Moderna will likely to continue to go up. Let's look at the last couple of days and look at swing trading opportunities. This is the 15-minute chart. I usually use the Bollinger Bands, the candlestick signals, RSI, and MACD as the indicators to guide my swing trades. Usually when I see more than 2 or 3 signals from these indicators pointing in the same direction, that's the time I would usually act on it. For example, here, at this point, we see the Williams fractal, a bullish signal. It's a lagging indicator, which is usually confirmed after the 3rd candlestick. That means that signal was confirmed by the time this green candlestick appears. In the meanwhile, we also saw the positive signal here from the MACD indicator. With these two, that's a great indication that the price will be going up in the next couple of hours, and sure enough, the price went up. And then finally, it topped out at this point with the bearish Williams fractal signal. And you can see that it way exceeded the upper Bollinger Band. So the Bollinger Band definitely provided resistance as well. Sure enough, the price went down, and pretty soon we got this confirmation of a bearish signal from MACD. And if I were doing swing trading, definitely I would be selling between this Williams fractal signal and this bearish signal from MACD. And then the stock price went sideways for a while, and it's pretty much bounded by the mid Bollinger Band, which is the 20-period moving average. At one point it dipped below that and was supported by the lower Bollinger Band. Then it went up and continued to hug the 20-period moving average until we saw this bullish engulfing signal followed by a bullish MACD signal. So that's a good time to buy. And then it was enforced by an engulfing signal. And then at this point, all along, the MACD signal has been positive. And finally, it topped out when the RSI was higher than 70, and we saw this bearish MACD signal. And it started to go sideways. At this point, if you like what you've seen so far, please click the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification button so that you will be notified when I post more videos in the future. And thank you so much for watching all the way to this point now. Let's continue. Let's look at the historical support and resistance for Moderna. I see support at 125, 121, and 117, and I see resistance at 141, 138, and 132. Let's look at BioNTech. Again, about a week ago, I said the chart was very bearish, even though I also told you that I own shares in BioNTech as well as Moderna. But I said it wasn't the time to buy in, and we had to wait for the price to start turning up again. And sure enough, the price started to go up following that channel, and then it turned to this more horizontal looking channel. My prediction at this point is that even though the price dipped a little bit because of the manufacturing hiccup in Europe for BioNTech, it'll eventually start heading up again. Let's look at what's happening in the last couple of days for swing trading opportunities. Let's start with here. We had a bearish signal from MACD, and then it was followed by a bearish Williams fractal, and then engulfing, and then 3 outside down. So that was really pointing very clearly towards a downward direction, and sure enough, the price continued to go down until it was supported by the Bollinger Band. And then it was confirmed by that bullish Williams fractal signal. Then the stock price pretty much went sideways for a while, bounded by the Bollinger Bands, and then until finally we saw that Williams fractal pointing up, confirmed by a bullish MACD signal. Sure enough, the price started to go up for the next couple of hours until it hit this bearish Williams fractal signal. As of this morning, BioNTech went down a little bit, but my prediction is that it will continue to go up when people get over the concern about the manufacturing issue. Let's look at historical support and resistance. I see support at 102, 99, and 95, and I see resistance at 115, 110, and 106. This morning, when the price dipped to almost 99, since I did this analysis last night, when the price started to turn up, I bought more shares at 99.8. At this point, BioNTech is at 103.35. Well, I just realized almost a 4% gain, and that's pretty good for swing trading. I'll probably sell when the RSI hits about 70 to 73 later on today. I have a portion of the shares that I'll be holding long term for at least 3 to 6 months or up to a year or even longer. I also devote part of my portfolio for doing swing trading just for the fun of it. Let's look at the catalyst that will cause the market to go up in the next few days. Additional contracts for the vaccine will certainly help, just like the way Moderna got the additional contract from Switzerland, and that certainly helped propel the price upward. And if you continue to see reduction in daily new COVID cases in the UK, Israel, US, and other nations where they started vaccinating people with the vaccines, or the failure of other vaccines in development, any bearish catalysts will include if the vaccines are found to be less effective against the new virus mutations. Unfortunately, so far we haven't heard any bad news about this yet. Any supply chain problem, which is exactly what happened in the last couple of days with the BioNTech vaccine, but I'm pretty sure they will overcome that. And the success of other less expensive vaccines. The Johnson & Johnson development is very important. I'll be watching that very closely in the next few days. Or if we see any severe allergic reactions to the vaccine. Talking about allergic reaction, here's a piece of sad news. It was reported on January 8th that a Miami doctor died 2 weeks after receiving the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. I believe the doctor unfortunately developed some kind of a severe blood disorder and passed away because of that. At this point, they are still investigating, and there's no conclusion whatsoever that the death was actually related to the vaccine. Let's hope that it's not related to the vaccine, but we need to keep an eye on this development. This is a recap of the December 16 Moderna valuation. At that point, I looked at the potential sales for the vaccine and applied the average PE ratio from 9 other pharmaceutical companies, and also applied a net margin of 33%, which is the net margin from Regeneron. And from that, I arrived at the target price of $150 to $170 a share. As for BioNTech, I used the similar methods to arrive at the price target of $110 to $130 a share. That was back in January 4th of this year. And since then, the BioNTech CEO in the healthcare conference set the new production target to be at 2 billion doses for 2021, which is substantially higher than my prediction of 1.09 billion doses. And that's why for now, I'm increasing my price target by $10 a share. Actually, in a few days, I might have to increase this even more. This is a quick recap of the comparison I did between Regeneron, Amgen, BioNTech, and Moderna. I compare their stock prices based on the stock price of 3 days before FDA approved date of each of their blockbuster drugs. Moderna and BioNTech are at this point on the chart. As you can see historically with Regeneron and Amgen, just right around here, their stock prices started to pick up. And sure enough, we do see the stock prices of both Moderna and BioNTech started to go up in the last few days. So hopefully that trend will continue, and we'll see the prices starting to shoot up, just like what happened with Regeneron and Amgen. I'd like to reiterate that my price target for Moderna is $150 to $170 a share, and for BioNTech is $120 to $140 a share by the end of March 2021. Of course, the prices are subject to short-term technical. I'd like to mention that I'm not a financial advisor. I'm sharing my analysis and my stock trading strategies for educational purpose only. You should make your own decisions regarding buying or selling stocks and should check with your financial advisors before you do so. When I see any significant changes in the next few days, I will post a new video. Before I post a new video, I will also add updates below this video like this. If you are interested, please click the like, subscribe, and notification button so that you'll be notified when I post a new video in the next few days. I thank you again for watching this video. If you have a few more seconds hanging there, I'd like to share with you some additional information. In the meanwhile, I'd like to wish you the best of luck with your financial investments. Have a wonderful day. If you wonder when the market is going to crash again, check out a video on this topic in my playlist. The following is a list of the analytical tools I use and the information I look at every day to develop my investment strategies. After doing hours of research, I summarize my findings into a few minutes of video for you. Links are provided below this video for you to learn more about RSI, Bollinger Bands, the role of the Federal Reserve Bank, etc.